friends, it's Liv and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. So today I am bringing you guys the mid-year book freakout tag. So I actually did film this last year and then something happened. I just never got around to uploading it, and then I started my channel a couple months later, but here we are and I'm finally getting to take a crack at this. So basically the mid-year freakout tag is where we freak out about all of the reading we have left to do for the rest of the year, while also kind of reflecting on what we have done this year. All in all, this has been a pretty solid reading year for me so far. I have read 36 books out of my Goodreads goal of 55, so I am pretty sure I will surpass that and hopefully be in like the 60 to 70 book range by the end of the year. Who knows? We'll find out. But without further ado, let's get into the questions. So the first question here is your favorite book that you've read this year, and this is a very easy answer for me, and I have to say Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I've talked about this a million times on my channel since I read it, and even before I read it, I was just that excited to do so. But once I finally read this, it was one of the first 5-star reads that I had this year. It was a complete 5-star read. I don't think there was necessarily anything that Leigh Bardugo could have done better to kind of up the story. It was absolutely phenomenal. This will most likely be the top book at the end of the year, also because this has also taken its place right next to Throne of Glass on my favorite books of all time. So this was such a treat to finally read. I still have to read Crooked Kingdom, but that will be done before the end of the year, I'm sure of it. But definitely this was the top read so far. So the next one we have here is your favorite sequel that you've read so far this year, and my answer of course had to be Lord of Shadows by Cassandra Clare, which is the second book in the Dark Artifices trilogy following Lady Midnight. This is the series all about the Shadowhunters in Los Angeles, following our two main characters, Emma Carstairs and Julian Blackthorn. The plot is so intriguing, these characters are so lovable, their dynamics are fantastic, and I'm about to finish Queen of Air and Darkness here very soon, and I'm not ready for that to be over. I love these characters, but I'm really excited to see where Cassie goes with her next series and the kind of cameos that do normally happen within her various series. So I guess all I can really say is I'm excited. Next up we have a new release that has come out this year that you haven't read yet but you're really excited to, and I have two answers for this one. My first answer would have to be The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. I have read like the first 30 pages or so. I think I'm on chapter 3, and it's interesting. It's really fun to be back in the world of the Hunger Games, which is like my favorite dystopian fantasy of all time. It's probably like the world's most popular dystopian fantasy. It's getting to see kind of the roots of Panem. This is the 10th Hunger Games, so it is way before Katniss's time. So getting to see kind of how the world worked before it was really established as a nation, and the rise of the capital, the lives of the people in the capital is so interesting. So I would love to read more of this very soon. And the other book I haven't read yet is The Hand on the Wall by Maureen Johnson, which is the third and final book to Truly Devious. I think honestly I haven't read this yet because I don't want to admit that this series is over. I loved Truly Devious. As soon as I found out there was going to be a YA mystery trilogy, that just spoke to me so much. I have even loaned the first 2 books to my sister-in-law, who she really doesn't read a ton of YA, but she loved these. I do intend on reading The Hand on the Wall before the end of the year because I need to figure out how this ends. I love this story. They've had cliffhangers on the end of each book, like major cliffhangers, so I need to know what happens. I need to know. Next up we have most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and this was another very easy answer for me. I feel like personally there's not a ton of releases of the year that I still have. Most of the ones I have been looking forward to did come out in the first half of the year, but for this one I do have to say The Tower of Nero by Rick Riordan is coming out this fall, which is the 5th and final book to the Trials of Apollo, and you guys probably know how much I love Rick Riordan, how much I have loved the Trials of Apollo so far. I think turning Apollo into a human was hilarious, and I love him as a character, and seeing the way that he's grown and changed from his first like fall from grace up until the end of the series has been phenomenal. This is another one that I need to know how this series ends. I hope this is going to be a really epic conclusion. I had mentioned in a video before that I don't think we've really seen a big, like, catastrophic, huge battle ending to a Rick Riordan book ever since the end of the Percy Jackson series, which is The Last Olympian. But it was one of those that really pulls at your heartstrings and you want to cry. It's another one kind of like the Battle of Hogwarts, and I want to see that in this. That doesn't necessarily mean that I want Rick to kill off some of my favorite characters, but I want to have that emotional connection to the ending of the book that's gonna just make it so memorable. So fingers crossed that I'm not too wrecked by the end of this series, but maybe just a little wrecked. Next up, we have the biggest disappointment of the year so far, and I am heartbroken to say this, and I haven't even finished this book yet, which is showing how disappointed I am, but it is The Toll by Neil Shusterman. Some of you may know Thunderhead, which was the second book in the Arc of a Scythe series, was my top favorite book of 2019. I loved Scythe, and Thunderhead was incredible, but something about this book I just can't seem to get through. I am not even halfway through this book yet, so maybe I'm cheating, maybe this shouldn't count for this because I haven't given this book a chance for the rest, but they're introducing new points of view that I don't think are necessary for a final book. I want this to be so explosive, like I want to happen with the last Apollo book. I want that to be really explosive. I want this to be explosive, and so far it's just not happening. And with these new points of view, I find myself getting confused and kind of bored. It's so hard to get into, and that is horrible, and I'm heartbroken because I love this series so much and I wanted it to have that really epic conclusion that Thunderhead was kind of leading up to. We had such a great cliffhanger, such a great ending for Thunderhead, and The Toll really isn't living up to those expectations. So I really do have to say that I'm not mad, but I'm disappointed. Next up, we have the biggest surprise, and my biggest surprise of the year is actually a series of rereads that I've been doing, but it is the Disney Kingdom Keeper series by Ridley Pearson. Honestly, I don't think I've really seen anyone ever talk about this series on BookTube before, and that's really sad because these are so fun. I read these originally when I was in middle school, and for some reason, it took me forever to read them, and I never finished the series even though I own all the books. I own one of the books in the spin-off series that has come out since this series finished, and it's been bugging me because I feel like as long as it did take me to read the 3 books, they were kind of a staple series in my junior high reading experience. So knowing that I haven't finished all the books has kind of been killing me inside. So I finally decided to go back and reread them, and I'm currently reading book 3. I flew through 1 and 2, which really surprises me because it did take me so long to read them as a child, but I am loving them. If you guys don't know, the Disney Kingdom Keepers series follows 5 teenagers who get a job at Disney World, essentially being holographic tour guides, but something goes wrong with the system, and at night when they fall asleep, they wake up in the park where the Disney characters are roaming the park at night. Throw in this group called the Overtakers, who are essentially the Disney villains who want to take over the park and essentially then the world thereafter, and Finn and his friends are the ones in charge of stopping the mayhem. If you are a Disney fan, if you collect all things Disney, you read all books Disney, but you haven't read these yet, I strongly encourage you to do so. It's such a fun insight into what the Disney parks are like when not many people are around, and they're so fun. So definitely the biggest surprise was how much I am enjoying these and how much I'm looking forward to finishing the rest of them. Next up, we do have new favorite author so far, and honestly I have to say my new favorite author so far has been Leigh Bardugo. Back in 2019 I did read both Shadow and Bone and Ninth House, but I don't know, something about her writing just wasn't fully doing it for me then. But I have since finished the Grisha trilogy, and I have read Six of Crows, and you guys saw in the beginning of this video how much I have loved Six of Crows. I really need to read Cricket Kingdom and then move on to King of Scars. She's kind of, I think, slowly becoming an auto-buy author of mine. I would love to read everything she has written, and then I'm really looking forward to everything she still has coming out. Next up, we have newest fictional crush, and I have mentioned both of the books that these characters come from in this video so far, but I think the 2 main fictional crushes that have surfaced this year are Julian Blackthorne from The Dark Artifices by Cassandra Clare and Kaz Brekker from Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I think I've mentioned before how much Kaz Brekker means to me personally. Honestly, the second he walked into Six of Crows and his first scene, I was like, this book gets a 5 out of 5 stars. It was incredible. There's something about arrogant fictional men that, like, I would never go for that type of men in real life. Honestly, that's kind of like, I don't want to go anywhere near anyone as arrogant and cocky as that. But something about fictional men like that, it's amazing. So that is more on the Kaz end of the spectrum, where he's very confident, he's very arrogant, he knows what it is he wants and he knows exactly how to get it, whereas Julian is kind of the opposite. Julian is a family man who has been raising his siblings since he was 12 years old, and so now just the love that he has for his family and his kind heart and his artistic abilities is something else that I just really love and I find really endearing. So I have loved Julian from the second we first met him, and I'm really excited to see how his story ends and where he goes from here. Next up, we have newest favorite fictional character, and for this I honestly have to say the human version of Apollo, Lester Papadopoulos from the Trials of Apollo series by Rick Riordan. I mentioned before how much I love Apollo as a narrator because he's so funny. He's so dorky, but he still has remained like his godly like arrogance and cockiness. He's like, yes, I am Apollo. I am so wonderful. Thank you for noticing my wonderfulness. Whereas he is a pimply-faced 16-year-old boy. Technically, I have met Apollo before this year. I did read The Hidden Oracle at the very end of 2019, but I have read the other 3 books in this series this year, and will be reading The Tower of Nero as soon as it comes out in just a couple months. So excited. In both the Percy Jackson and the Olympians and the Heroes of Olympus series, Apollo was never really my favorite character. He was funny when he was shown, but he was really just kind of there for some comic relief and just wasn't having it. But seeing him kind of pull down to earth as a human and his emotional growth since then is something that I really loved. The way that he cares for others and his like partners in battle and the friends that he's made along the way is something that I really love, and so I'm really excited to see the end of Apollo's journey. It's gonna be wonderful. Next up, we have a book that made you cry, and I have 2 books that I think have made me cry so far this year, both by Cassandra Clare, so I don't know what that says about me, but they are City of Heavenly Fire, which is the 6th book to the Immortal Instruments, and Lord of Shadows, of course the 2nd book to the Dark Artifices. Both of these made me sob. City of Heavenly Fire was the conclusion to the Mortal Instruments, so it really was that kind of explosive, huge conclusion that I was looking for, and it did not disappoint. I honestly could not put down City of Heavenly Fire. It really gripped me from the second I opened the book right until I finished it. It was such a great ending to Clary's story, and getting to see Clary pop up in the Dark Artifices after the series has been really great. And also we did meet Emma and Julian and the rest of the Blackthorn family in there, so it was a great kind of hint to Lady Midnight and the Dark Artifices. But Lord of Shadows. Lord of Shadows. The ending of Lord of Shadows ruined me. It was so good and I sobbed like a baby. Honestly, going into this book, I did know how it was going to end, but that didn't mean I was ready for it. I don't think I ever could have really prepared myself for what was to come, and I don't know if I can prepare myself for whatever is to come in Queen of Air and Darkness. I have no idea what's about to happen, and I'm really scared. So again, I will hopefully be finishing that book soon. Maybe that one will also make me cry. Who knows? Next up, we have books that made you happy, and for this I honestly have to say the Disney Descendants series. I read all 4 books earlier on in this year. I flew through all of them. They were so good and so endearing. The Disney Descendants series does follow the lives of the children of the Disney villains Maleficent, Cruella de Vil, Jafar, and the Evil Queen from Snow White, as well as a bunch of other characters, and getting to see kind of what their children have been up to since the Happily Ever After is something that I have really loved. These characters are so endearing. I love the movies, the music, and the choreography are absolutely amazing. The books mainly focus on world building and bridging the gaps between the movies, so getting to see what they're up to when the movies aren't in play is something that I have really enjoyed. Next up, we do have the most beautiful book that you bought this year, and honestly I have to say Lord of Shadows. Can we just talk about how beautiful the covers in this book series are? Honestly, all 3 of them are so stunning and they look gorgeous sitting next to each other. Something about the blue color scheme and the shininess of the letters on the cover is just It's beautiful. And last but not least, we have books you need to read before the end of the year, and I have quite a few. So first off, I want to say that I will read Crooked Kingdom before the end of the year, as well as House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. I cannot believe I haven't finished that yet, but it is currently back in Illinois, and I am in California currently, so next time I'm home, I will be picking that one back up. I will finish The Final Empire, if not the rest of the Mistborn trilogy before the end of the year. Again, I can't believe I haven't finished that one yet either, but I definitely have some work to do, as well as Renegades by Marissa Meyer, which I would absolutely love to get to by the end of the year, and also the rest of the Shadowhunter books. I feel like I just really have to finish for the end of the year. I don't have much left to go. After I finish Queen of Iron Darkness, I do really need to just finish Ghost of the Shadow Market, the Red Scrolls of Magic, and finally Chain of Gold. Alright, and there you have it, guys. That was my version of the Mid-Year Book Freakout Tag. As you guys saw, it's been a pretty decent reading year so far, but I think we can do better in the second half of the year. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you did enjoy it. Please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up and comment down below what was your favorite book that you read so far this year. I would really love to know. Thank you again so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.